Right, everyone, hello. So welcome back. This is Caretaker Part 2. I understand it's been a few days since I have made another video. Well, it's technically only the second video that I've made. But nonetheless, let's get straight into it. Now I've done, let's see. You might be able to hear this, me flicking through my notes. I'm quite ill, so that's why I had a bit of a delay. And if you would really like some further information as to why I was late uploading this part, please refer to my Twitter. Anyway, yes, I'm quite ill, so I do apologise. But anyway, this is Caretaker Part 2, so basically left off the last episode where Neelix is about to be transported over to Voyager. So Neelix is eventually beamed over, and he's astounded by the transportation process. He's astounded by the process. But he only ever does this once. Normally when an experience is very new to somebody, it'll take a few times to settle in, but it's only the once. I mean, he gets transported around later on in this episode, in fact, and is just perfectly like it's normal. Anyway, so yeah, he's very curious about Voyager as well when he first steps onto the ship. He's looking around, he's seeing what he wants to do. He wants to know how everything works. Sorry, I'm just so ill. But we'll fight through this. So, going to Harry and Torres now. B'Elanna's visibly scared from being captured, as would anyone be, due to the fact she's been taken against her will, etc. So the doctors, I don't know if that's what they're called, the medical staff of the Ocampa, class Harry and B'Elanna as not prisoners, yet they were actually taken against the will, but want to return to the ship, and the Ocampa are not letting them, so technically they are prisoners. The actual city, once we'll get to see where the Ocampa live, is actually quite beautiful. I mean, I know it's just a painting and some sets, but it's actually done quite well. The aesthetic of that city is quite well. And the whole city was supposedly courtesy of the Caretaker. The Caretaker seems to be some kind of god to the Ocampa. At this point we don't know much about him at all. They could have actually stretched this arc out a bit more by going into the sort of religious aspect of the Caretaker and what sort of further effect he has on these people's lives. Maybe that's just me, but I think that would have been quite cool. Kim and Torres are acting very stiff. The actual acting, I mean, like actual Roxanne Dawson and Garrett Wang, they're actually, I don't know if it's just them settling into the role, or because normally, in my opinion, they are quite good actors. They do settle into the characters very well, and we do get a lot of good episodes out of them. But in this particular one, obviously it's the first one, so we can go quite easy on them here. But it just seems a bit stiff. And I've lost my place on the notes. Yeah, but they seem to be on edge. And it's very different to the characters that I know after watching the series for a third time. And now we're back up into the ship. So it's a cutaway of Voyager and the Valjean. If you didn't know, the Valjean is the Marquis ship. And it just makes me sad that the Marquis ship doesn't hang around for much longer, because seeing the ship next to Voyager it's cool. It's cool. Yeah, so Neelix is enjoying his bath, and he's treating water like we treat it, like it's nothing, which you would if you've never really used it in such a way, and you've just, if you stumbled into a vault filled with gold coins, you're going to jump and throw them everywhere, aren't you? But you don't normally throw your money everywhere, because unless you're very rich, then you can't do that. I hope that was a decent analogy. I knew what I meant in my head, and I hope you do as well. So Tuvok's sarcasm towards Neelix is quite hilarious. For example, he's like, I've never had a bath before, or something like Neelix says, something along those lines. And Tuvok says, like, I would never have guessed. And also he hands Neelix a towel, which I've just found funny. And Tuvok actually shows that you have to earn the uniform, because Neelix says, would I be able to get a uniform replicated as well? And Tuvok says, no, you most certainly cannot, or something to that effect. Anyway, so now we're being down to the planet, which is the Orcomper's planet. So the whole away team was taken by surprise and could have quite easily been executed. And just so you know, you've got Janeway, Chakotay, I think, Tuvok. That might have been it. So you've got very senior staff here who could have quite easily been executed, and without your future first officer, chief of security, and your captain, and the ship stranded on the other side of the galaxy, that's quite scary. That shouldn't have been done. They should have chose, like, as harsh as it sounds, they should have just chose more expendable crewmates, really, and you would have. So yeah. So just for those who don't know, who are actually watching Voyager as I go through the episodes, the Orcomper is seen as inferior to the Kazon, and this is when the Kazon are introduced. The Kazon would have actually been, in my opinion, quite wise to ally with Voyager due to the replicator technology, etc. I mean, they had the ability to create water out of thin air, as Neelix put it. And apparently water is a very scarce thing, as it appears to be a planet that's just a complete desert. The Kazon, at least for the time being, until they could come up with a plan to seize Voyager, which we will see in Basics Part 1 and 2, they would have been very wise to ally with Voyager. But that never happened. The Kazon show greed when they ask about having the technology that Voyager used to create the water. But looking back, I don't know if this is greed so much as desperation. I could be wrong in both of those aspects. If I am, please let me know in the comments. And this is where, for me, Neelix, I could be wrong here once again, and if I am, do let me know. Neelix makes a very foolish mistake. Voyager, quite easily at this point, could have forged an alliance with the Kazon, Orgla that is. But with Neelix waving the phaser around and whatnot, makes that quite difficult. With the technology that Voyager has, the Kazon were practically at Voyager's whim. So, yeah, he pretty much pisses away a very easy alliance there. At least, I know the Kazon are deceptive, but at this point we don't actually know that. So going about the way you would normally go about it is Janeway would have tried to make friends with the Kazon. Let's see. Yeah, Neelix basically shouldn't have done what he did. And yeah, I'm quite ill once again, so I do apologise. But I am trying, and I hope this is still as entertaining as I want it to be. So the Orcomper think that they know the Caretaker when they really shouldn't. When you think about it, the Caretaker is really strange at this point in the episode. Not the way that he's acting or anything. Just the concept of the Caretaker. It's so, well, it's alien, really. Is probably the best way I could put it. It's actually a shock as well that so little Orcomper have tried to escape from the installation that they're stood in and that they live in. You get rebellious people in humanity and stuff like that who escape from sects of religion and want to live in a different place. Even something as simple as that, you know. you would think that some people, and some do, but you would think a lot more would want to move away from where they are underground and want to like expand their meaning of what it is to be alive, I suppose. So yeah, now we're back on the ship again. Just for those that missed that, that's the bit in the episode where the woman gives Kim and Torres some moss or something. That just didn't need to be in my opinion, really. That's just filler. It's never brought up again, it's never discussed. So that could have been replaced with a battle scene later on when the shit hits the fan. Sorry. What else have we got? Yeah, so Neelix is scolded by Tuvok for basically fucking up negotiations with the Kazon, and rightly so in my opinion. I really disagreed with what he done. Sometimes he does the right thing, but at this point he's a bit of an idiot. I'd say it's not really until about season 4 that I actually start to like Neelix. I mean, he just settled down a bit after season 2, sorry. But it's not until series 4 that I actually start to like him. But anyway, I'm not going to unfairly judge his character. But yeah, rightly so, he foolish mistake. But he's not perfect, no one is. Janeway ends the EMH program because at this point the Doctor isn't even known as the Doctor, he's just known as the Emergency Medical Hologram. Now I'm just turning the page. Janeway comes up with a plan for a rescue attempt for obviously Kim and Torres, but mainly Kim, I imagine. And this did go through my head because at this point we're in the medical bay? No. What's it called? Oh my god, I forgot what it's called. The medical area on Voyager. Sick bay. Damn. Anyway, yeah. So we're in sick bay. And I was just thinking, because Chakotay has just stood there, and I was thinking about it, shouldn't Janeway still stick to her primary mission and have the Marquis in the brig? Or at least have a tractor beam on the ship? I mean, I know we said in the last episode the ship was there for 6 days before Voyager. I might be wrong about that. I haven't actually went back to look. But surely, if the Marquis were truly as bad as what the Federation makes them out to be, surely they should be in the brig. I don't know. And Kes shows a lot of honour actually by agreeing to help Voyager. Now, I must admit I'm not a big fan of Kes. I get where the hate comes from. I do. She's not the best character. Or she wasn't the best written. She was quite one-dimensional, as Chakotay ended up being towards the end. Well, after series 2, to be honest. But yeah, she shows honour in agreeing to help Voyager, whereas Neelix would have just ran for some reason. And by the sound of it, the Okamba were once a great race. This is back when they're down on the planet's surface again, talking to other Okamba. It looks like some sort of hydroponics garden that they're in. So yeah, by the sound of it, the Okamba were once a great race with extreme psychic abilities. We'll get more into that as Voyager continues, obviously, with the whole Kes story arc of the first 3 seasons. Didn't need to be done, but yeah, so we'll get more into that as time permits. And at this point I was starting to see that the Okamba definitely made the Caretaker a god, as Kes is supposedly defying the Caretaker by going to the surface, and that she should follow the path and all of this sort of stuff. So I know mainly in Star Trek religion isn't a big thing, other than Deep Space Nine, of course, which is basically all about religion, and they cover it quite well. But like I said earlier, this should have been stretched out a bit more, the Caretaker's religious aspect sort of thing. That should have been stretched out a bit more, because it just seems a bit forced. I don't know. That's just me though. Anyway, so Kes takes Janeway and company to find her people, and at this point, Kes actually comes across as quite like strong and like a leadership sort of way. And we do have a couple of great Kes episodes actually. There's one further down the line. Obviously, it's in series 1, 2, or 3. I think it's 2. I might be wrong. It could be 3. I don't think it's 1. Where she gets DNA switched and stuff with a guy, a warlord. I think that might be the name of the episode. Actually, it's something like that. But it's a good episode. Anyway, so Kim and Torres are looking for a way to escape, and they're on the right track. But they stop for a rest, and they seem to be getting on, even though Kim does seem quite defeated, as he usually does. I don't mean this in his character is weak, but his character is weak. Does that make sense? He's not a weak character as in a badly written character. The way he's written is he's not the most headstrong sort of character. Does that make sense? In my opinion, he's a good character. I do like him. I'd say Tom and Janeway are probably my favourite characters out of Voyager thus far. I do like Tuvok as well. He used to be my favourite, but obviously that things change. Anyway, so yeah, Kim seems defeated at this point. So the Caretaker pulses are getting faster. And I've just wrote Voyager crew going up an escalator. So if you've seen the episode, they're just clearly in a shopping centre somewhere. They're in a mall somewhere, and they're just going up an escalator, and they're like, Janeway to Voyager, just going up an escalator. I thought it was quite funny. So the pulses cease due to the array realigning, apparently, or blah blah blah, whatever, it stops now. And at this point I realised that Tom doesn't actually hold a rank yet. Obviously it's explained later on in the episode if you've watched the episode. But at this point I was like, shouldn't Tom have pips? But that was just an oversight on my perspective thing, yes. But at this point it kind of makes sense, because he's just there for, as we are to understand at this point in the episode, he's just there to do this, and then he's cut loose by the Federation. He's a free man sort of thing. He didn't think he'd be spending his life in the Delta Quadrant. Anyway, it's quite a tense scene when the Caretaker's firing weapons and Tuvok info dumps on Chakotay and Janeway. The whole speech that he believes the Caretaker's dying. It's a great show of logic, obviously, because he's Vulcan, but it's good. I did like that, the way he came across and stuff. It was very Vulcan, which is what you need. He shows great intelligence as well. I just missed that off on the notes there. Janeway's line about getting home adds tension, because if the Caretaker's dying, how will... I think it's something like, how the hell are we supposed to get home if the Caretaker dies? It's something like that. So obviously the Voyager crew can't beam Janeway up, obviously, because there's some sort of threat. There always is. It's never just like, beam us up. Okay. It's never that. And it never, like, there's always something. And this is in all Star Trek. Anyway. Paris runs off, searching for Kim and Torres, and a staircase to the barrier seems mighty convenient for them to actually escape. It just seems weird that there's a staircase there. The Ocampan are prisoners, because they're caged underground. There's energy barriers, and it's frowned upon to even think about going outside, which is weird, because they are prisoners when you look at it from an outside perspective, I suppose, but when you're inside it might be different. So Tom finds Harry and B'Elanna. Kes and Neelix is there with Tom as well. they all escape using the phasers to cut through the ceiling or something like crazy like that. So Tom stays behind with Neelix. Tom gets Chakotay, Neelix gets Tuvok with Janeway. They all beam out except for Tom, who's helping Chakotay, obviously. They make some sort of like blood pact where Chakotay's life belongs to Tom now, which is never brought up again, which would have been nice to have seen. There's a sort of like relationship, friendship sort of thing there. That there's a lot of things that could have been with Voyager, and it had easily had the potential to be the best series of Star Trek, if not the best series on fucking TV. But at every opportunity there's just something that they just forgot about, and it could have been so much more. So yeah, everyone's safe now. Now we've got the issue with the Kazon and the Caretaker, because the Kazon want to board the array to kill the Ocampa, and the Caretaker wants to save the Ocampa, so there's a bit of, yeah. So Janeway has a leadership head on. Janeway seems adamant to get home, and rightly so. Wouldn't anyone, because now there's the added stress of the Caretaker dying, so you've got a time limit on all of this now. Janeway just wants to get home. Her and her crew, obviously. And now the Marquis as well. Because they're on the wrong side of the galaxy. So the guy who Janeway tells Paris to take the con, or the helm, whichever you prefer. It's the same, he drives the ship. So the guy who Paris relieves goes to the security console, or is it the tactical one? The one that well, it's probably security, considering Tuvok is the chief of security. Goes to there, so he's a pilot who can also be in charge of the security on the entire ship. Crazy, very versatile bridge officer in my opinion. So at this point, Janeway and Tuvok transport over to the array. The Caretaker does confirm, in fact, that he is dying, and he's using the last of his energy to protect the Ocampa for as long as possible. The Caretaker does confirm that there is another life form like him, and it is in our galaxy. And we will actually, that's a minor thing that they said, that they did actually bring back, so Voyager does get points for pulling that storyline back up later on. But what they do with it, however, no. But props for them for keeping that storyline thread open. So yeah, there's another Caretaker basically in our galaxy. Janeway does make a good point with her little conversation with the Caretaker. At some point, children do have to grow up. The children in this case being the Ocampa, and the parent being the Caretaker. And obviously Chakotay does the whole kamikaze run on the Kazon ship. It was one of the better space battles of Voyager, and Voyager does have quite a few fights in it for being the only ship. I do like the good battle scene in Voyager. I just like the whole ship design, really. I know I've got the Enterprise at the bottom there with my little green screen effect and stuff. But I just prefer Voyager in every way. It's smaller, it's faster, it's probably more stronger. Well, probably not. But Voyager is, in my opinion, a ship. Not so much. It's an exploration ship, but it's also a very powerful ship. I think it's a warship, really. One that would be used on a frontline battle as a smaller support ship to maybe the Galaxy class or the Excelsior class, anything Sovereign, anything like that. But yeah, the ship battle is very intense, and obviously you get the whole "now" thing with Chakotay teleporting, which made us laugh for some reason. It's probably because I'm ill, but it just made us laugh. Because it's like, granted, it's 23 years old, this episode now. But I just thought it was quite funny, the way the green screen was and everything, like his head bobbing around and stuff. I don't know. But the Caretaker seems to like Janeway, And if he could, I imagine that he would send Voyager back, but obviously for the sake of the whole show, he can't. But the real reason is that he can't compromise on his mission. Janeway, as the Caretaker, is now dead, pretty much. Well, the Caretaker is dead now. Janeway looks to honour the Caretaker's dying wish and shows a caring attitude to this. And the Caretaker's dying wish is protect the Ocampa, destroy the array, because the Kazon can use the array to destroy the Ocampa. So Janeway looks to honour this. B'Elanna has a little bit of attitude when Janeway returns to the ship and announces her grand plan of destroying the array. Chakotay stops B'Elanna and says she's the captain, which is right now, because if you think, the Maquis have no ship. She is in charge now. Chakotay gave up his right to be in charge when he destroyed his own ship. He's passed on command to Janeway, whether he likes it or not. It's her ship. It is the only ship they can be on. So, she's the captain. Which is cool. I like the way that was worded. Simple, yet very effective. The Maquis integration into Voyager's crew should have played a much bigger role in the story, I think. I think they're all very friendly within the first few episodes. I mean, you do get the big odd hiccup every once in a while, but that should have played a much bigger role, in my opinion. I would in fact argue that the entire first season should have been about the Maquis integration. If Voyager only ran for 7 seasons, I keep getting those mixed up. Voyager only ran for 7 seasons. However, if Voyager ran for 8 seasons, the entire first season should have definitely been about the relationship aspect of Voyager in the Maquis and Federation crews merging as one. And then we would have had a bit more time to actually stretch out the way in which Voyager got home, because, let's be honest, Endgame just comes out of nowhere and it's very rushed, in my opinion, due to the episodic nature of Voyager. And there's another thing, I'm just going to go off here, away from the notes for a second. I'll probably say this every episode, but I just wish Voyager was one continuous story rather than episodic. I mean, I know at the time they just wanted it so people could drop in and drop out of Voyager, but I would have loved if Voyager was one continuous story. It's just a shame that the ship's like brand new at the end of every episode. It would have been great to have seen Voyager come home with one engine left and half the bridge blasted off and like force fields holding the ship together and stuff like that. That would have been great. I mean, and it would have had more of an impact, I think, if, say, like, we lost the mess hall or something and it takes weeks to repair, like the morale of the ship goes down and people can't eat people have to eat in the quarters and stuff like that, and quarters get destroyed, people die on the ship, people have to sleep together due to their quarters being destroyed, but luckily they weren't in the quarters. The warp core gets damaged, so their speed gets reduced, stuff like that. Stuff like that would have been amazing due to, I'm talking damage here, but I'm sure you get what I mean. Continuity in this show would have sealed the deal for me. I mean, Voyager is still my favourite Star Trek series, and arguably my favourite TV show, but I just think the continuity would have definitely sealed it. It would have been very different. Don't get me wrong, it would have been a very different show, but it would have been excellent. Anyway, I'm just going to go back to the notes now. Why does Paris get pips, like the rank pips, and not the commission badge? The Field Commission badge, for those that don't know, is the badge that all the Maquis crew get. Like Chakotay is the oval with the lines. That's the Field Commission badge with the rank. Janeway explicitly says that Paris is getting a Field Commission of Lieutenant. So a Field Commission badge is the one the Maquis has. So why doesn't Tom get that badge as well, even though he's not Starfleet or Marquis. He should have still got the other badge, but I think it's to show the separation between him and the Marquis. I don't know, but he should have got that badge and not the pips. Anyway, that's a minor thing. I'm glad he did get the pips though, because everyone prefers them to the, because you couldn't, like, they do have lines on to determine the rank on the Marquis badges, but you can't see them on the show. Anyway, but the badges basically work the same, but instead of a pip, it's just a diagonal line. So, and from what I've read, I believe Chakotay is a lieutenant commander and not a commander, but he always gets called commander, which is weird. I don't know if that's true or not, because I've never actually been able to see the badges properly. But if anyone knows about that, then let me know. Anyway, so Neelix and Kes join the crew, and Neelix gives his little speech about, I will anticipate your first move will be me, your first need, will be me. And Janeway gives Neelix a look that really looks like that she needs them, like now. And that was cool. That's good acting, very good acting. So Janeway's speech would motivate anyone, really, I think, about getting home. She's destroyed the only way to get home, and I believe that it was the right thing to do. Morally, it was the right thing to do. Maybe not for the sake of the 150 people on the... I did have the exact number of people on Voyager's crew, in the addition to the Marquis, but it's somewhere in the region of 180 at this point, or 160. It's something like that. So really, it's a relatively small crew when you think how big the ship is. It's 15 floors, and it's 1/4 of a kilometre long. It's quite a big ship. Well, it's a very big ship. So yeah, Janeway's speech would motivate anyone. I think she done the right thing. I would have done the same thing. Well, I would like to think that anyway. So I wouldn't want to endanger or hurt somebody else for a quick fix for me. I would rather do it the right way, if you get what I mean. And that pretty much sums up this episode, but there is one tiny thing that I did pick up on, that I probably would have only picked up on if I did what I done. So I watched Voyager all the way through for a second time and immediately started these reviews. The last words uttered on Endgame by Janeway are "set a course for home." That's on Endgame at the end. And the last words on this episode, which happened to be the first episode, is "set a course for home." And I just thought that was quite cool. So yeah, that pretty much sums up Caretaker. We've spoke about Caretaker for about an hour now in total. I don't know if I should make these they're not really reviews, it's just me talking about the episode, really. I don't know if I should make these shorter or longer. Either way, whatever your opinion is, just let me know, and I will take it on board. If I'm going into too much detail about the episode, also I would like to know that. If the episode is interesting at all, leave it a like. I've got Twitter in the description below. I have a Facebook. Yeah, I've got a Facebook page as well. You can like that. I've got a Patreon as well. I would greatly appreciate any support on the Patreon. That would be brilliant. But most importantly of all, I would like to hear your guys' thoughts on this episode as well. And if you could leave me any feedback at all, that would be brilliant. I will respond to every comment for the time being anyway. So if you've got anything you would like to say, just let me know. And yeah, guys, that's it. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in episode 3 of Voyager. I don't know what it's called. I'm just going to guess it's called Janeway Goes Apeshit and Blows Everything Up. Goodbye.